The soldiers descended underground, and the mud swallowed their legs from the very first step. The trench was so narrow, narrower than a grave. No sun. Light only came from a tiny opening above their heads. Rain poured endlessly, water pooling under their feet up to their knees. The smell was the smell of death, rotten corpses, sweat, blood, decay. Rats ran everywhere, big, bold, unafraid of anyone. They fed on the dead, and soldiers woke up to find rats on their faces. Soldiers slept standing up so they wouldn't drown in the mud. The bread arrived moldy, covered in green mold. Soldiers ate it anyway, just so they wouldn't die of hunger. The dampness peeled their skin, and wounds festered quickly. Everyone felt like they were dying slowly, without firing a single shot. These trenches were living graves. Soldiers were digging their own graves with their hands. Hope began to vanish from the very first day. The one who dreamed of home now dreamed of death. The mud choked the soul before the body. The trench devoured the soldiers from the inside. There was no place for rest, no place for hope. These trenches were the beginning of the end of humanity. Soldiers felt they were no longer human. The living carried their graves inside them. The dead were sometimes the lucky ones. The trenches stole the soul and left the body to live alone. And this wound is still open to this day. Every single day, the artillery never stopped firing. The sound of explosions made the ground shake beneath your feet. It would steal your hearing and sometimes your mind. The poison gas was used for the first time. It smelled like bleach. Men died choking, their eyes bulging out of their sockets. The one breathing the gas felt his lungs burning alive. Snipers waited for any head to show. One bullet and it was over. If you raised your head for a second, you were dead. Hunger was worse than bullets. Soldiers ate rats. Wounds festered fast. Gangrene killed quicker than lead. When someone died, the body stayed next to you for days. Soldiers stuffed corpses into sacks and threw them over the parapet. The smell never left, and the rats kept multiplying. Fear was a constant companion, not a distant enemy. Every moment, they were waiting for death. The one who once dreamed of home now dreamed only of dying. This war made men stare into hell while still standing. There was no mercy, no end in sight. The trenches devoured soldiers without firing a single shot. The ones who survived felt they had already lost their souls before their bodies. Shells came from every direction. Nowhere was safe. Night was the worst. The noise became deafening. Soldiers counted every explosion, each one convinced it would be the last. The one who used to laugh now cried for no reason. The one who used to sing now screamed in his sleep. The trenches turned men into ghosts. The one who once loved now hated even himself. This war stripped every beautiful thing from a man. The trenches killed the soul before they killed the body, and the ones who lived carried hell inside them forever. Imagine waking up every single day and not knowing if you're still human or already a ghost. The noise inside your head never stops. Every explosion takes another piece of your mind with it. The sound never stopped. Soldiers began losing their minds. They called it shell shock. Empty eyes, silence, uncontrollable shaking. One returns home after years, unable to speak a single word, unable to sleep. Every time he closes his eyes, he hears the explosions again. Fear made the body tremble for no reason, even in complete stillness. The one who used to laugh out loud now cries suddenly, without cause. The body was breaking down, legs rotting from mud and dampness, Teeth decaying, eyes weakening, skin peeling like paper. The soul was shattering long before the body gave out. They started wishing for death just to escape what they were living. The one who once dreamed of home now dreamed only of corpses and blood. The trenches changed everything, even those who survived them. Soldiers became ghosts, no longer human. The ones who lived felt dead while still standing. This war made man witness hell while still on his feet. And the question that still haunts us, how could we do this to each other? The ones who returned carried their grave inside them. The ones who died were sometimes the lucky ones. The trenches stole the soul and left the body to move on its own. Soldiers felt they were no longer human. The ones who lived carried hell inside them forever. And this wound is still bleeding to this very day. Those who came back were terrified of sleep. Those who came back were terrified of silence. Those who came back were terrified of themselves. The trenches never ended, even when the war did. Imagine stepping out of the trench after years and not being able to recognize who you are anymore. You can't understand why you're still alive, while hell is still burning inside you, eating you alive every single day. The trenches stole laughter, hope, and humanity from deep inside a man. The one who once loved his family could no longer feel love at all. The one who once dreamed of a future now feared even his own dreams. Soldiers became ghosts, no longer human, unable to feel anything. The ones who survived fell dead while still standing on their feet. This war stripped every beautiful thing from inside a man. The trenches killed the soul long before they killed the body, and the ones who lived carried hell inside them forever. This wound is still bleeding in everyone who came back from there. The ones who returned carried their own grave inside them. The ones who died were sometimes the lucky ones. The trenches stole the soul and left the body to move on its own. Soldiers felt they were no longer human. The ones who lived carried hell inside them forever, and this wound is still open to this very day. The ones who came back were terrified of sleep. The ones who came back were terrified of silence. The ones who came back were terrified of themselves. The trenches never ended, even when the war did. The ones who survived felt that part of them died in the trench. The ones who survived felt the trench was still living inside them. The war ended, but the trenches kept on killing. The ones who returned carried internal death with them. The ones who returned felt that peace was nothing but a lie, and this wound will never heal. The war officially ended on November 11th, 1918, but the wound inside those who survived never closed. Millions died in the mud. For what, exactly? The trenches changed everything, even those who made it out alive. The ones who returned were no longer the same people who went in. Their eyes were empty, their bodies still here, but their souls had died underground. The one who used to laugh out loud now feared the sound of his own voice. The one who used to hug his children now feared touching them. The trenches weren't just holes in the ground, they were holes carved into the soul. The ones who lived carried the memory of every explosion, every scream, every corpse. The peace that returned was peace on paper only. The wound in the soul runs deeper than any wound in the flesh. The world changed, maps were redrawn, but hearts were never redrawn. The ones who came back lived in fear of sleep, of silence, of themselves. Every loud sound took them right back to the trench in their minds. Every smell of rain brought back the mud that drowned them. The trenches made man doubt everything, even his own humanity. The ones who survived ask themselves every day, am I still human? This part ends here, but the story is far from over. Part 3 will tell the story of the war's end and what came after this hell. It will tell of the world born from the ashes and the scars it still carries. But before we go there, let this question stay in your mind. What if they had never gone down into those trenches? What if this war had never happened? What if humanity had never been capable of doing this to itself? What if peace had lasted forever? What if that single shot had never been fired? Thank you for staying with me until the end. If this touched you, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss Part 3. Share this video with someone who loves history or someone who needs to remember what happened here. Part 3 is coming, and it will be stronger and harder. Wait for us. And the question still hangs in the air. What if? What if? What if?